I am starting the recording now. This is a quick webinar, although we only have one lovely attendee today. This is recorded for future reference and for folks who couldn't attend. We're going to talk about a couple of relatively simple tools within Krunch reports to allow you to export your reports via email to run them on a schedule to allow automatic exporting, and that includes email sending. And then a couple of tips and tricks as to what you can do with a scheduled report, namely using the schedule system to have visual graphics charts available to you at the dashboard homepage of Krunch Reports for Retail Pro Prism. So without any further ado, we're going to fire a little bit from the hip today. I did run through a practice with this report and built some good data for us to view. This will not be talking about how to build reports. It's what to do when you've got a good working report. Big Hairy Dog trainers will, in the most timely manner possible, although we are very busy with these types of requests, provide customized reports, including the graphic charts that come with them. Right now, for this training today, we're going to be looking at this associate sales summary. We're going to make a copy of it, set some saved filters so that when it runs automatically, we will know what data or be able to dictate what data we want out of the report, for example, a time frame. And then this icon here means that there's a chart on the report itself, a graphical representation of the report data, and we will get that added as a dashboard. Right now you see I have blank dashboards. These are great. You have 24, nope, 22, 20 dashboard places where you can post charts. And that's a whole nother conversation. But once you have a good report built and set up with charts, I'll show you how to get it on here and it'll automatically refresh with the data. Tammy posted to chat that my voice is a little choppy. Let me adjust my headset. Hopefully this improves. Tammy, please let me know if it happens again. And feel free to interrupt me too vocally. Got no problem with that. We got plenty of time as far as I'm concerned to get through this webinar with such speed bumps. Hopefully my audio stays in. So again, a quick review, we're going to be scheduling a report. We're going to be emailing that report, or at least talking about how to do so. And then we'll have a graph that's set to automatically refresh based on a scheduled report run by the end of this call. So to start with, one of the main things we're talking about as far as reports and scheduling today is how to email them. The first step to emailing a report is having the email preferences set up. So I'm logged in as the report user who gets access to all of the reports in the system, right? I need to go to admin. You may want a Big Hairy Dog tech to help you out or a local techie, but sign in as your administrator. And I knew I was. Maybe gonna run into an issue with this. Something I forgot to prepare for. If you will bear with me, I will get us logged in as the report administrator and we'll set up some email preferences. Basically, the system has to be configured to allow you to send email. They are server settings. The system needs to be linked with an email account, whether it's Gmail or Office 365. These settings are similar. And I will show you them and give you some information about how to find them once I get in as administrator in just a moment. Go look up a password. This is the problem with having so many different passwords out there because it's in your best interest to use different passwords. How are you going to remember them all? Well, you won't. Anyway, so Krunch Administrator is different from a Krunch report user in that I don't have access to any reports. Okay, for the purposes of our webinar, we're only focusing on one area today. That is the email section in this left-hand pane once you sign in as your reports administrator. Big Hairy Dog can help you with this. We will configure it with you. We will talk about what you need to do this. Okay, if you have Office 365, that's Microsoft email, you may mimic these settings. Now, Big Hairy Dog has a security policy in place, so mine is actually not working at this time. Again, it's a security setting with the email server, not Krunch and a limitation thereof. So we can get past those kinds of security settings. I just can't pry open the corporate security oyster today and make this work for myself. But we can definitely address the kind of problem that I am having with you. So this is a server side issue. I can't send email, but if you're using Office 365, that's Microsoft email, that's your server address, that's your port number, put in your email address and your account password for your email account. Gmail is very similar. I do not have a Gmail account to reference at the moment. I didn't go look up my personal today, but it will be very similar, something like smtp gmail.com. Don't quote me on that, but we will help you identify that for Google accounts. So again, requirement is log in as Krunch admin and set your email settings, server address, port number, and authentication, your email address and your email account password. Okay. SSL, secure socket layer, is an option if your email provider requires it. You simply select the box and move on. Note the down arrow in Krunch is the save. So once you set all of this, you will want to, of course, save it. Get a good confirmation message. That won't tell you that there's a problem. Or rather the one that I'm experiencing, not being able to send the email. But a success message means it at least wrote it to the system and now it's worth testing, troubleshooting as needed. But it's a fairly standard and simple email link setup that any Big Hairy Dog tech and most of your local IT providers might be able to assist with. So admin, email, set the settings up, have to do that for email to work. It's only required for emailing reports, not for the schedules or the visual dashboards that we will be looking at later.
Tyler,
Yes, ma'am. I see you
can
typing.
each employee have their own email address?
So each employee can be emailed to. This is to be considered the sending from email address. So if you want to send reports to your staff, there's another area, and we'll cover that, where we dictate who we are sending it to. And
Okay.
yes, that's not related to your license limit. Remember, the Krunch license limits how many different accounts you can log in with. That's one of the beauties of auto reports, is we can give access to reports to folks who may not have a login, and it may be more costly to buy a new license for them when they just need to see potentially a sales summary at the end of the day. They don't need all the features of a Krunch login. So I will show you how to email to multiple people in a follow-up section, but for your purposes, this is a sending email address. So messages from the report system from Krunch will be sent as, in this case, myself, or in some cases, a generic business email address. It's not customer facing, and we are not talking about Prism customer facing or vendor facing email today. Although it is a similar setup, there are different nuances because it is different software. So Prism email receipts and POs handled in a completely different area. But this is send from information, and sending to is not really limited. So you can send to multiple people at once the same report, and they don't have to be a Krunch user to receive an email from Krunch. Nor does this email address have to be related to a Krunch user. It has to be configured with the email provider to allow this feature. That's what I am running into, and why mine currently won't send is there is a Office 365 email server side setting that does not let me use my address for this purpose, and that's a corporate security policy. We're pretty locked down here. Most small businesses won't need that level of security and won't have to jump through some of the hoops that I might have to open it up for myself. And again, our techs will get you through it. They're very well versed in this kind of technology, and this is a relatively quick and simple setup. If you need to contact us for a board call, we can probably take care of it in a short amount of time. We'll leave it at that. So preliminary setup. That was a whole lot to talk about for 6, 4, 5, and 6 if you include the checkbox fields. But if this is done correctly, then the system will let you email, pending, of course, security issues like the one I have. So now I'll log in as my report user, and we'll get to the real subject matter here. So I'm going to go, and I have a report identified that I want to use today for demonstration. This associate sales summary. This is a stock report. Stock reports are noted by the fact that they are a system owner. Okay. Because we cannot edit a stock report, I'm going to copy this. This will let me save some default filters to be implemented for scheduling purposes. So if I could type today, give it a name that makes sense to you. This is all demonstrative purposes, right? Description would not be required. But more information is more. You may end up with a long list of Krunch reports, and having a description might help keep you sane and help you identify what's running on a schedule or not. Okay, group, make an informed decision here from one of the normal areas. And I'm going to include the dashboard entry so I don't have to spend time rebuilding the chart today, although charts are fairly simple, and we'll cover those in another webinar or training video that we'll have recorded for our clients. But today, I'm just copying a report, giving it a name to tell me something else, filing it in a group so I can find it quickly, and I'm going to include dashboard entries. If you have preset schedules and you're just modifying a report to run with different filters on a schedule, bring them over. The schedules that you set up in a follow-up step, we'll go over shortly, can be copied, and you can set up a batch of reports with different criteria to run at similar times, different times, have different time frames. An example is my associate sales summary. I could show it daily, I could show it for 2 weeks, and I could show it year to date. And I could have graphs for all 3 of those on the dashboard, and they could all refresh every night at midnight or every hour if I wanted them to. So that's another reason you would copy. I need to copy my report to save filters if it is a stock report, and B, I can do multiple report runs with multiple filters by creating more copies. Put a 1 at the end, or put a piece of filter information in the description. Right, so I'm bringing the dashboard entries over. Now I've got a new report under system sales, and we called it associates. We called it something. It's actually under report user because I copied it. It now belongs to me. Scheduled associate sales summary. We're going to go in and edit the report first. Of course, immediate run to test your report and make sure that the copied version is working. We all know Krunch has its quirks that we are desperately trying to get addressed for you and get a handle of ourselves, but make sure your report runs before you commit it to a schedule. Now I can do an immediate run with the fast forward button, get the data that I want on screen. I'm going to set up a couple of filters. Because I am the owner of this, I can go ahead and do these and I'll be able to save my filters. You don't have to edit the report to build out filters, okay? Run it and come to your settings gear wheel. Now we'll add 2 here. I'm going to do associate, and I'm going to build a new filter because it's good practice for everybody else. So we'll create a filter with the funnel menu. This is going to be 2. I did associates 1 earlier for the same effect. I want to exclude sysadmin, so I see only sales registered to my associates. Sysadmin being the system account. And I built some recent sales, or I did some sales this morning so we could see this report in progress. So associates 2, this is text, column type, right. We're filtering for the associate. It's not a number or a date or a time or a date and time. So select that, make sure you get that correct. We're going to use is not like as our logic here. Sysadmin. Now I will add the filter. So remember, create the filter. Go ahead and save it to, that's always a good safe practice so that I can reuse associates 2 from this list later. So create, save, add, and then apply. And we pulled sysadmin out of the equation. Now I can do another filter. I want to view only 14 days worth of sales. Depending on your report, the date range will be named something different. Okay, it's a little bit of a rush job here. I could have potentially copied this and cleaned this up. Given this a new name, the system can give you a more descriptive name than what looks like programming, because that's essentially a bit of program. But I know that this is a date range, a sales date range specifically, because I've run this report. So this, I already have a date 1 set up. You might see this as your selection date, your flexible date. So I'm going to use that, but I'm going to go ahead and stay in create edit mode. Actually, I got the wrong direction. I don't want to use a selection because this will be an automatic report. So I don't want it running for the month of May each time I run it, do I? I'm going to use a dynamic date, the last 14 days right here. Now we can add it and apply it. Now we see our information here. It may not have looked like it changed. I don't make a lot of sales in my demo data. These are sales from today. If your report is configured correctly, you will notice the filter change once you apply it. Okay, my data just doesn't show that, so pay no mind. Now we have a report with all the criteria that we want. I don't need that menu anymore. Okay, nothing to do. I've got the filters that I want. I'm going to save this report. And again, I can't do this on a stock report. I have to make a copy or it won't let me save the default filters. So by saving it with the filters applied, it's going to build a duplicate. And oh, you'll have to pardon me again, I got out of order. All of the filtering steps could be done on a stock report, and when you save it, it forces you to save a new copy. So make a mental note of that. At least when it comes to saving default filters, you can't override a stock report. When you click save, it's going to automatically prompt you to save a new one. So we'll just call this 14-day associate summary. It's in sales, just so I can find it again if I need to work on it. With a copied report under your name, it opens up some customization options, again, not covered in this. But if you want custom reports, they won't ever be saved as a system owner. They will be done under a report user. By copying a report, we can get access to some of the code contained within. So that said, okay, I got a report with filters that I like, that I want to stay persistent. I'm saving it with a descriptive name so I can find it, and I'm going to go add it to a schedule now. All right, I don't have to go and worry about closing my report. I'm just going to go over to schedules. And of course, I don't have anything scheduled. So I'm actually going to come back to my report. Report user 1 sales. We have our 14-day associate summary. I need to come to the schedule option up here. That's the clock next to the edit pencil. Now we get into what we are all so interested in. Fortunately, another simple set of configurations here. We could run our 14-day summary daily, and it'll pick up the last day's sales and move itself a day forward. I would potentially want to run it at midnight. This is military time. Yes, so midnight would be 0 dark 30, as they say, or 24, as the software is configuring it right now. The 24th hour of the day is 12 midnight. Or, you know, grammatically fix that up in your mind, but military format time here. Okay, who am I sending it to? Note what it says here, comma separated email IDs. In a lot of email systems, we use semicolons. This is commas only. Separate it with commas and you can email it to anybody you want. They don't have to be in Prism. They don't have to be in Krunch. They don't have to have access to either system as long as they have access to this email and the ability to view in the format that you dictate. Okay. Now I switched to XLSX mode because I like Excel and it's just easy to demonstrate with. Show filter information at output means it will show me what date range those 14 days are covering, and it'll show me that it excludes the sysadmin like I did in the filter. So we do like to have our filter information in the report output in many cases. Some folks like to, yes, ma'am.
Will you please repeat that? You cut out at the beginning.
Having audio issues today. I apologize if the rest of the webinar has other sound problems for the recording. I just want to point out this checkbox showing the filter information and output helps you know exactly what you're seeing. We excluded sysadmin from the report and we set it to run at a dynamic 14-day range. So when I export the report, it'll have that information. And I'll know that if I'm missing sales, I can go look for the sysadmin associate. If I want to see monthly sales data, I'll know that my 14-day report isn't going to quite cut it. Okay, so show filter information and output just puts a header with your filter for the report. Oh no, I'm going to have to request a new headset soon. I wonder if it was too close to my face. Hope it maintains because that must be irritating. It'll put the filter information in a header. We'll leave it at that. So it prompted me for this when I selected my format down here. Okay, so I'll just click OK. I've already done that. We see the flag down here that says, yes, I selected that. Now, this is where we save a subject. So this is what will appear in the subject bar for their email header or in the email subject line. Leave a message if you want. I do recommend at least having a subject so you can see at a glance when you're getting spammed by your own reports, right? So as it stands now with our settings, I'm going to email to 2 addresses, you know, maybe a third. Friendly reminder to always spell our company name correctly if you're emailing Big Hairy Dog or if you're going to the website. Spelling really matters when you're doing a search for that, let me tell you. So separate your email addresses with commas in the email ID in email to section. And you can send to as many staff as you need to. No limitations from licensing here. They just have to have access to email and access to view whichever format you're using. Okay. So I've set up my schedule. It's going to run at midnight every day. It's going to send emails to these 3 addresses with the subject 14-day associate summary, and I can add a message if I wish to personalize it. It's going to send a copy of the report in XLSX format. A note about these are going to be functional spreadsheets for you to work with. PDF is going to be a much more visual representation without any editing that matters. Okay, so PDF is good for reviewing data quickly. If you're looking to work with data each week, Excel to one of the export to one of the spreadsheet formats so that you can work with your data instead of just view it. Right. We need to save. You could save as new if you need to duplicate one. Okay, so say this existed and I want to build another daily schedule, but I'm going to make a couple of changes and I want this to run at 12 every day. I could save as new and make a duplicate with all the relevant informations related to this report. Informations, that's not a word. Save, success message. We love success with Krunch reports. Okay, now we can come into schedules and we can review this. We now have our edit, and again, save as new. I'm going to set this to run at 12. So I get it updated midway through my day. You know, adjust accordingly for your business hours if you want to do that. Save as new. Now I have 2. Note it's not going to prevent you from having duplicate names, but it will have schedule entry numbers with the relevant information. Okay. So we're not going to wait till noon to see if that sends, right? But we can now come to the report and let's go find it. 14-day associate summary. Let's run it. And I will talk about getting charts on the dashboard so that now that it's scheduled to run, we have visual reference of our sales information. You knew it wouldn't be a Krunch webinar without Krunch freezing up on something. I didn't want to jinx it, but I must have. Friendly reminder and a great time to mention that the best thing you can do to get past a Krunch freeze is to clear cache and cookies. I might recommend refreshing in this case. We normally don't recommend a refresh in Prism, but now that I've got past the freeze, I know that I have a little problem going on because it didn't run the report. I'm going to sign out, Control, Shift, and then tap Delete. If you were in training with me, I've taught you that one. Clear browsing data tab opens all time. The only thing that really matters is cookies and cache. So get us past it. Now something I'm going to do on my Krunch server is restart the Krunch form of Apache. It is clearly thinking about this anyway. So after you clear cache and cookies, go ahead and exit your browser. And let's get this open nice and quick here. Pay no mind. Your session timed out because we had to clear cache. Here. Port user 1. I say pay no mind, but do pay mind. We do not accept the limitations of Krunch reports as it is right now. So we're going to keep pushing to make this platform stronger as far as functionality, and we'll be here to build reports too. But we do know that it is a little painful to use. I'm going to do an immediate run on my 14-day summary. I can look at the charts now. So these were already configured. This is not about building charts today, although the tool to do so in the report is actually very intuitive when you're in edit mode. Okay, but I'm not going to go into that here. Just note it's step 6 when you're in expert mode for editing. You can build your charts here. You give it a preview. Beautiful. We're not going to go into that in detail. I'm going to immediate run, and it's running without my filter for date right now. Save. It is quite the beastie. And I'm going to just overwrite this dashboard entries. Yes. All right. Well, date filters are another thing. So let's just move right over to charts for right now. Again, we don't settle for these glitches. We work through them. But for the sake of the webinar, I'm moving on right now. Okay, so I ran a report, and if it has charts configured, I have the chart tab available. Check in chat real quick. On the chart tab, look for this little icon up here in the top right. Add to dashboard, select a slot, again 20. They are broken up in groups of 6 until you get to 19 and 20, which are a dashboard page 4. There's only 2 of them. Okay, we'll put this into the place of pride or whatever they call it, position 1. Now this report is scheduled to run every 12 hours. And that means that the dashboard will be updated every 12 hours. Or based on the dynamic filter set as well. So they are, yeah, it's gonna pull from its schedule and automatically update at this point. A quick note about doing this manually. If you don't have a report running on schedule, you can export to an output. Let's go look at our report, and I will show you how to manually email this. So I did the immediate run fast forward button here. I want to use export. That would bring a file into the output folder, and I can also directly email a one-off report run. Same concept, comma separated addresses, please. Subject, give it a descriptive name so it doesn't look like spam or can be filtered out. Select your format for the export. This is skipping a step. I could export and it would go to the output section and I could download and email that file. But why would I do that when I could just straight email right out of Krunch, right? So XLS, show filter, because that's useful. This will tell us that we're excluding sysadmin. Okay, and we're going to get an error message because my system is not configured or my email server settings are not configured to allow me to do this. As in, I picked an address to send from that isn't going to work. And that's not to do with Krunch, it has to do with email server settings. Bunch of gibberish up there, but the aka.ms, I knew that told me about Office 365 limitations. So if you can get that on screen and snip it quickly, it would be in your benefit. Unlike Prism, I can't make that appear longer on screen at this time. So you may just have to try to email manually several times to get a good record of that error, and we can take that and run. They shouldn't be erroring with the correct settings, but that's generally what those errors are going to tell us, is there's a problem with the email server being used. Note Krunch in general will post its messages, its successes, its failures up in that top right corner under your username. Okay. Now, that was a lot of information, maybe, and definitely several things tied in together. So our one attendee right now, Tammy, do you have any questions or any of that we should revisit and review? Because I gave very much a top level while getting detailed, but broken out into bite-sized sections
No,
would
I
be
think
my goal.
it was a great overview.
That's the intention with these webinars, is an overview, exposure, and hopefully some tools for you to help yourself. Again, you know that we're here to build these things out for you, to get you custom reports, to find out why it's not running on schedule. To Tammy and everybody listening to this, we all appreciate your patience with Krunch reports as it is. I appreciate your patience with my audio issues today. I feel like Tammy might be telling me again. Nope, she just said I did great, so I will take it. And Tammy, this will be recorded and available online, so thank you for participating with me. I have one last little bit here. I would like to provide a link if you have access to My Retail Pro. I like to share documentation on my webinars like I do with QuickBooks. Of course, it's going to make me do this, but if you'll sit tight, I'll get myself logged in and show you where you can find more information directly from Retail Pro. And of course, this webinar and other training videos like it will be at the Big Hairy Dog website or at our Big Hairy Dog YouTube page under the webinars playlist, specifically the Prism webinar playlist. So let me get signed in here and I will show you all the link and where to go for more Krunch Reports documentation while you wait for the next Big Hairy Dog training. It's under documentation, and we're going to go to tools under Retail Pro Prism. Let me zoom in a bit here for y'all. Documentation, tools. There is so much information, it's easy to get lost, so I wanted to make sure that I showed you exactly where to go. Retail Pro Reports, bottom right in this tools contents section. Okay. I recommend downloading by clicking the user's guide. You can get a PDF copy of this. Default reports might be helpful to let you evaluate what comes with the system and what kind of customizations you need, and leave the installation to us because this thing is persnickety. But that said, thank you, Tammy, for attending, and everyone else who may be watching this in the future. I hope you've learned something from our webinar. Reach out anytime, tech@bighairydog.com, Tyler T@bighairydog.com, or just call us and we'll get you an appointment to work on more reports in the future. Thanks again, everybody, and have a fantastic day.